Hi everyone. Okay, so I wanted to talk about a film called Madhouse. It's from 1974. It's a very special one, this. It's Vincent Price and Peter Cushing. It's one I came across some time ago. I only saw it the once, but I've recently got the DVD. It just got here today and I've just finished going back and rewatching it. And again, this is one of those where it's as good as I remember. So, Madhouse, it's Vincent Price's movie. He is the lead in it, and Peter Cushing is very much in a supporting role, but still great, of course. I mean, that's the thing about Peter Cushing. You can always rely on him to be reliable, but it is very much Vincent Price's film. So the premise of this, he plays a horror movie star, quite appropriate. Notable or best known for playing a character called Dr. Death in a series of films. And when he was at the peak of his popularity, or the height of his popularity, he suffered basically a complete mental breakdown, and it derailed his career. He was engaged to be married to this much younger woman, and she basically mysteriously ended up being killed in suspicious circumstances that resembled one of the murders out of his films. So obviously he became something of a prime suspect, and it was around this time where he suffered the mental collapse. So that's at the start of the film, and then the main body of the film picks up some years later, where he's basically been through various. He spent some time away in an asylum, and he's received all the necessary treatment and care, and he's basically been, for all intents and purposes, rehabilitated, or as best he can be, and he's at the point where, where does he go from here? And the way Peter Cushing factors into all this, he's a close friend of Vincent Price's character and a collaborator. They both created the character of Dr. Death between them. Peter Cushing's character was an actor turned writer, and he'd made a career as a writer. So obviously, they were a dream team. Peter Cushing's character wrote the stories or the scripts, and Vincent Price played Dr. Death. So, they get back in touch with one another, and they're going to do basically a reboot of Dr. Death. They're going to do it as a series for TV. And Vincent Price is very, very nervous about getting back into it, but Peter Cushing's character talks him into it, convinces him to come back to it. But it's at this point, as the start production, very, very strange things start to happen as soon as the production start on this. People, again, it's the same thing. People are ended up or turning up dead, killed in ways that are inspired by the killings or the murders in the Dr. Death movies. So, and it's always hinting that Vincent Price's character, although he's been rehabilitated, he's not 100% there. He's prone to relapse, basically, and there's sequences where he sits down and watches some of the old films, to get back, to try and get back into the Dr. Death mindset, and you can see this character is having a really, really strong reaction to this, and you think, so it's got your mind ticking. The intention is you put two and two together and think, oh, okay, so he's basically, a mental case he can't differentiate between his real persona and the Dr. Death character anymore, so he's going around, reenacting the murders from his films. That's obviously the intention, but of course it's a real clever premise, but we've seen it done so many times, in some, but it's done well here. It's done very well here, and set in 1974, it's something that they could claim was kind of new and novel and original at the time, and it's a very smartly done film, this, and it I think it's fair to say that it's ahead of its time in a lot of ways. You know, there's some real meta things in it. Like there's a sequence where Vincent Price's character actually appears on Parkinson. Michael Parkinson makes a guest appearance in the film. You know, so Vincent Price's character goes on the Parkinson chat show. So it's blending like real world elements very effectively into this film. One of the things I think that's really cool about this film is that it's very reminiscent of a lot of the Italian giallos that were being made around this time. Stuff like Four Flies on Grey Velvet, stuff like Tenebrae, The Red Queen Kills Seven Times, and The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave. It's really, really cool, you know, having things like the anonymous killer in the black gloves, and you have Linda Hayden in a small role looking as ravishing as ever to bring that hint of sleaze into the film. The film even takes time to incorporate some kind of convoluted blackmail subplot that's, you know, often present in a lot of these sorts of films. So it's really, really cool, and I really appreciated the giallo-esque nature of this film. But it's really, really well done. It's really, really smart and creative. And of course, Vincent Price is great, Peter Cushing's great. And again, it's one of those, obviously, they made, you know, they were churning out films in, you know, all through, you know, throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s. But I think Madhouse is one that you can say is a legitimate standout, because it's got that uniqueness. So it's one, and it holds up. It really does. And there's parts of this movie where it gets really, really dark. There's a character we're introduced to who was actually one of the leading ladies in one of the Dr. Death films. You know, she had like a 15 minutes of fame, and you get to see her in like the you know, years later, and life had been really hard to her, you know, so her backstory's really dark. So it was this film, you know, doesn't pull its punches. So that pretty much sums this up. Again, it's only a brief, because obviously I've kind of gone into a little bit into the plot. I don't want to go too much into it, because I mean, it's immediately obvious when you watch that something is off. You know, it's kind of wanting you to think one way, but you know it's a misdirect. But it's really, really cool what the payoff is, and the ending. Something really cool happens at the end, and we're talking in like the last minutes of the film. That's really, really cool. You'll know it when you see it, but it's one of those that it's one of the things you'll always remember about this film. The way that what they do at the end. There's a little thing that happens, and you think, "Oh man, that's cool." It's really cool. So again, that wraps this up. Madhouse, 1974, Vincent Price, Peter Cushing. Really, really cool. And also, it's got some throwbacks to some of Vincent Price's earlier works. You know, they show clips from some of his earlier movies, like The Fall of the House of Usher. You know, basically they take Vincent Price's films that he'd made in real life and incorporate them into this, that his character in this, you know, they were part of his filmography. So that was really cool. So if you are a Vincent Price fan, I think this is a film that would really appeal to you if you haven't seen it already. So Madhouse, 1974. If you've seen this, please feel free to share your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. If it's one you've never heard of, I'm glad I could introduce you to it, and please check it out. I'm sure you'll really dig it. But thank you for listening to me ramble either way. I really appreciate it. Thank you for indulging me, and I will see you all next time. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.